Japan, the land of the rising sun. Japan is a nation renowned for its cutting-edge technology, rich heritage, and breathtaking natural wonders. These qualities establish it as one of the foremost tourist hotspots globally, drawing millions of travelers annually. Interestingly, Japan's embrace of foreign influences is a relatively recent shift. For more than 200 years, spanning the 17th to 19th centuries, Japan maintained strict isolation from the outside world. This era, termed Sakoku, witnessed Japan flourishing culturally, economically, and socially in ways that had never been seen before. This period of seclusion played a significant role in cultivating many of the cultural masterpieces Japan is known for today. But how did this secluded island nation evolve into one of the world's most developed and welcoming countries? Let's delve into the history of Japan. Japan's archipelago has been inhabited for approximately 40,000 years, with the earliest settlers arriving from mainland Asia. They introduced farming and metalworking, paving the way for permanent settlements. By the 3rd century AD, much of southern Japan had formed a centralized government based around the Yamato region, headed by a monarch known as the Emperor. In Japan's early days, it was influenced by mainland Asian cultures. Buddhism, for instance, was introduced to Japan from Korea in 552 AD, and in 645 AD, Japan enacted the Taika reforms to reshape its political system, inspired by China's imperial structure. However, these reforms did not immediately bring stability. In 794, Emperor Kemu chose to establish the capital in one location, present-day Kyoto, marking the beginning of the Heian period, which lasted for nearly 400 years. Over time, however, the imperial court grew more preoccupied with internal affairs and neglected the broader concerns of the nation. As a result, the emperor's power weakened and local noble families gained more influence, giving rise to a decentralized feudal system. In 1160, a struggle erupted between two powerful warrior clans, the Taira and Minamoto, over the succession to the throne. This sparked the Genpei War, 1180 to 1185, with the Minamoto clan, led by Yoritomo, defeating their rivals and establishing a new government in Kamakura. Yoritomo became the first shogun in 1192, marking the start of military rule in Japan. During the 13th century, Japan faced threats from the Mongol Empire. In 1274 and 1281, the Mongols attempted to invade Japan, but both invasions were thwarted by ferocious typhoons, referred to as kamikaze or divine winds, which destroyed the Mongol fleets. Although Japan succeeded in repelling the Mongols, the defense efforts took a toll on the nation's economy, leading to growing discontent among the samurai. In 1333, Emperor Go-Daigo tried to revive the imperial government, but just 5 years later, he was overthrown by the Ashikaga shogunate, which restored military governance. This led to a prolonged period of civil wars between competing samurai factions, known as the Sengoku period, which continued into the 16th century. In 1543, a Portuguese trading ship reached Japan, bringing new goods, including firearms. These European weapons gave the feudal lords a distinct advantage in battle. Christianity also spread, and several local leaders, including Oda Nobunaga, leveraged European technology to help unite Japan. However, after Nobunaga was assassinated in 1582, his successor Toyotomi Hideyoshi completed Japan's unification. Though Hideyoshi never became shogun, he ruled Japan as regent. After his death in 1598, the nation descended back into civil conflict, and Tokugawa Ieyasu, a former ally of Hideyoshi, defeated his rivals at the Battle of Sekigahara in 1600. This victory marked the start of the Tokugawa shogunate, which would govern Japan for more than 250 years during the Edo period. The Tokugawa shogunate brought stability and prosperity to Japan, but also imposed strict regulations to prevent unrest, including the prohibition of Christianity in 1638. In 1639, the Tokugawa instituted Sakoku, a policy that closed Japan's borders to foreign contact. Japan's only trading partners were China, Korea, and the Dutch. During the 17th century, Japan continued to thrive, with its population growing to 30 million. However, by the late 18th century, challenges began to emerge, particularly as the government struggled to manage famines. Meanwhile, Western ideas started to influence Japan, primarily through Dutch literature. In 1853, a fleet of American ships led by Commodore Matthew Perry arrived, demanding Japan open its ports to trade. Unable to resist, the Tokugawa Shogunate reluctantly agreed. This sparked anger among many in Japan, especially in the southern provinces. In 1868, a rebellion restored the emperor to power and brought an end to the Tokugawa Shogunate. The new Meiji government sought to modernize Japan in order to compete with Western nations. It introduced railways, telegraphs, a modern educational system, and a reformed military. Japan also sought to expand its influence abroad, securing control of Hokkaido, the Ryukyu Islands, and later annexing Taiwan after defeating China in the First Sino-Japanese War, 1894 to 1895. In 1902, Japan formed a military alliance with Britain and, in 1904, defeated Russia in the Russo-Japanese War. Japan's influence in the region grew further, and it annexed Korea in 1910. By the time of World War I, Japan had become a formidable Asian power. However, in the 1930s, Japan's military became increasingly aggressive, leading to the Second Sino-Japanese War in 1937. Tensions with Western powers escalated, and Japan allied with Germany and Italy in the Axis powers during World War II. On December 7, 1941, Japan launched a surprise attack on Pearl Harbor, prompting the United States to enter the war. Japan expanded its empire across Southeast Asia, but its military eventually suffered significant defeats. In August 1945, the U.S. dropped atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, forcing Japan's surrender. After the war, Japan was occupied by Allied forces, and the country underwent sweeping reforms. The military was disbanded, and Japan shifted its focus toward economic recovery. By the 1960s, Japan had become the world's second-largest economy, renowned for its technology, automobiles, and electronics industries. Today, Japan is a prosperous nation, respected for its technological innovations, cultural heritage, and robust economy. The resilience of the Japanese people, especially after the devastation of World War II, has led to an extraordinary transformation, making Japan one of the most successful and admired countries in the world.